Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the finale of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. Normally we put like an intro up, but I kind of felt like let's just go ahead and get right into it. And I'm going to end this on the actual intro. I have here two of the co hosts that started with me from day one, bringing me back from the abyss. Started off with Ronin and James. What's up, Ronin?
What's up, everybody? Damn, I I can only imagine what it is to be the Walking Dead fans who started from the get go. So, special shout out to Bizzy and Sam because I know they go way back with the Walking Dead. So I'm happy that woo shit went down.
Yeah, shout out to you for coming, Ronan, because you're at WonderCon right now. Like you're
Yes,
like
sir.
going to do your press thing. So appreciate you for coming in. Busy.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
So
Welcome back.
I thought episode 4 was like super emotional, but I mean, I don't think I've ever gotten as emotional as I have in any reaction other than of course the silent voice because I know you're gonna mention that. But this episode was it, man. Like it was emotional as hell and I loved it.
We're gonna
Good.
definitely dive deep into this. I've got a lot of different emotions. I've got some conflicting emotions during the reaction because of different reasons
Mm-hmm.
unrelated to
Mm-hmm.
the episode.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm not gonna go into all that. Let's just go ahead and unpack the episode from what it was. I mean, starting off the episode, I really didn't know what they were gonna do because it started off a very intimate moment while also having a monologue with Rick. Rick was kind of basically coming back. They going back into the fold to turn themselves in. And it was kind of just like, what is Rick planning with Michonne? If they're going back, okay, cool. They're gonna get, the papers that, implicate them. That anybody that would possibly go and see his loved ones, that's good. Open and shut case. But it easily gets way more emotional when you start to look at the nice character Michonne and you realize that she's emotionally compromised by even being here. So because she's
Mm-hmm.
emotionally compromised, is she going to do something that's going to go left or right? And at the end of the day, this is spoiler review. They both break bad. They both put themselves in a very precarious situation. And honestly, I'm kind of conflicted with their decisions because I think that there are different ways that this could have been handled, and I felt like it could have been a lot more cleaner. But it's kind of like this is the way that they wanted to do it, and they said it. They made it very prevalent in the very first part of this episode is that this is how we do things. And I love the callbacks. So many freaking callbacks. If you are a
Oh
Walking Dead
man.
fan, there are so many pivotal scenes, and they add context to it. Whether it's him talking with the general and going through the worst things that he's done and what he's gotten himself to be. But some of the other composite scenes were just even where Michonne was looking at, things that were going on in the theater and what they're trying to do with the kids and how they're trying to use them. Like there was acting being done underneath these people's masks that I think that it showcased how amazing they are as actors. But from opening of the episode, where were you guys thinking this was headed? Busy, I'll let you go first. Where did you think that this was going?
So I mean, especially after last episode where they were saying that they weren't gonna just like tear up the thing that like the paper. They were gonna end up like trying to destroy the CRM. We had that moment with Michonne where she was saying, "No, we're going after them," because Jadis was asking them, "Please don't go after that," And so I had a feeling that it was gonna get really spyish and it was gonna be interesting, but you could only, of course, assume that everything's gonna go wrong. And there were some things that were just going so well. I'm like, yeah, things are gonna go to shit. It's not gonna be good. So right away, I knew it wasn't gonna be as simple as, oh, we got the paper, we won. So they did a good job with that.
Yeah, Ryan, what was some of your expectations? Where do you think this was going?
I I thought two things. Either they were gonna go full Butch Cassidy in the Sundance Kid ending, or that uh, Michonne would be the one to take the slice or the bullet and be like, "I promise the kids to bring you, home. That's the goal. That's the mission."
Mm.
And then Rick having to live with that, and now be like, okay, now I have to be father to kids that to be frank, barely know me, barely remember me and whatnot.
Right.
I thought it'd be bleaker, but I think for me, I like that they didn't have to rely on that either for shock value or for edginess, but they're like, all right, we can end this story without everybody dying. It reminds me a lot to what Guardians 3 did, where, spoilers for Guardians 3 if you haven't seen it, but none of the main team really dies. I mean, they went their own. Some went their own ways, but there was a finality to it, and I love the almost the ideology talk. That's what I like most took away about it. That like it puts a scenario like a lot of people might lean on the general side, while a lot of people also lean on what Rick and Michonne are going. And I agree with you because I felt that you could have gone stealth, but they were like, "Nah, man, if we're leading this up, we don't have to use silence. We're gonna just go ham on it." But it's a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah. I've got some positives and negatives in that sense. It's more so like the way that it was written, not necessarily the execution. I think the execution was fine. But there was a movie that me and Bizzy, saw recently, and I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm not even gonna say what the name of the movie is, but it all signs led to like a very more bleak outcome. But they chose to actually take it a different route. And I think that after having watched it, I was like, oh, really going down this route? Like, I kind of accept it. It does feel like very final, but there is room for expansion too. But yeah, as far as continuing the story, so at the point that they go and they start to infiltrate everything, he meets with Thorn, and Michonne goes undercover to go to get what she needed from Jadis's tent. Like, she was looking through everything. You see Jadis's like pictures and stuff all everywhere. So she's trying to find the paperwork, and she is freaking out. Like, she is like having like an emotional break. I thought, honestly, I understand why she was so panicky, but it felt like she was already losing it. Like, she wasn't keeping her cool, and I felt like they were just running and gunning, and I was really scared because I was like, okay, she's gonna kill somebody very quickly. And sure enough, she got what she needed. She got the paper, but somebody came in because she didn't just take the paper and remove it and leave and burn it. She just starts ripping it up and having like an emotional reaction. While on the other side of it with Rick goes and meets with Thorn. He's setting things up in motion. He goes and starts to Thorn's like, okay, you need to meet with the general. He's going to give you the lowdown. He's going to give you everything you need to know. And this is going to be it. And so they go and level set, like the general kind of has him platform where he needs to be. And things like it's lining up. So I was going to ask you guys your perspective on how Michonne reacted, like, with the paper. Do you guys think that she could have handled it a little bit differently? Like, I don't know. It's a nitpick, but it kind of felt like they did that from a written standpoint to kind of knee-jerk reaction where she had to get to her resolution. To me, it was like, okay, I'm already panicking. Now I'm almost about to kill somebody. Oh, freak, I got to get out of here. And things are going to progressively just get worse. And so I felt like that was a written decision as opposed to she gets the paper, she dip sets, and she maybe goes and starts seeing the presentation. Because in the presentation, she has another emotional reaction. And so I don't know, like, I was curious y'all perspective on her, like, losing her cool when she didn't necessarily have to. I felt like they wrote her that way. But I don't know. What was your guys' take on that?
I don't know, because most of the times that feels maybe realistic.
Yeah.
And yet reality can be stupid, can be weirder than fiction at points. That's a good question. I think from a mindset point of view, that makes sense. You lose your shit, and now you're trying to hide evidence. It's just that in playing it out, it feels like, well, you just wasted a minute there of cutting it close where you just turn stuff around, and then, oh shit, I gotta pick it up, and now I gotta knock someone out who's coming into the room and whatnot. So it's dicey because her losing her shit is completely valid. It's just that you would think that, okay, we're going into the lion's den.
Right.
We're going to where we're trying to escape. We should, cooler heads should be prevailing at this point. So yeah, maybe it was a writing thing. I don't know. Maybe it played well initially, but I'm not gonna say I'm indifferent to it. It was interesting take because it felt like, again, it was like, oh, she's losing her shit. Okay, cool, but it's like, now you gotta pick that up or burn it and then whatnot. And it's like, well, in the middle of this tense thing though, we gotta get the fuck out of here and whatnot. But yeah, it's a choice. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm not gonna make 20 videos out of it, be like, this is why you're stupid. I'm like, okay, that's something I wouldn't have done, but then again, I'm not in production yet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fair point. Bizzy, what was your take?
I don't know. I don't know how to say it any better than he did. I mean, I was a little stuck. I really, truly don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's fine, Bizzy, because the thing is, like, even with her, when she gets into the stadium or when she gets to the presentation and they go through the presentation, they start showing the kids that they're using kids to infiltrate other groups and basically kind of like using them to destroy other groups. I don't know if that means I don't know the levels to this. I mean, this is the same people that are like gassing areas so that the dead can go and just milly wop the rest of them. Like, that's sick on different levels. And I understand why she couldn't take it, but that was not the time to just sit there and walk out. I think that was the thing that kind of was like, you're here now. Like, you know what? I mean, we knew like episode 3 or 2, and she wanted that place gone. Like, she didn't feel comfortable in that place. But I kind of was like, bro, you knew what you're getting into. And I don't know, it just kind of bothered me because I felt like in that situation, it would have made more sense for her to try to be more cool with how this is going to work out. But either way, it added more drama. And I felt like they added more drama for the sake of adding more drama to add more tension. Because what the tension did, it made me feel like, oh, wow, something may happen to her because she's losing her cool. So that was the reason why, even when I reacted, I was like, dang, they might actually kill this woman. For real.
But I prefer her walking out of that room, seeing all the kids' photos, instead of shredding something to pieces and then instantly having to pick up all the pieces. I was worried that what's the kid's name? Julia or
Judith?
Judith. There we go. I need to start with a J. I was worried that somehow they got photos of Judith and she'd pop up and Michonne would be like, no, or like, react. And then that would have shit the bed and whatnot. But her walking out, that made sense. That made sense to me. I would have kept that and just switched the other one around, in my opinion.
Now, I'm going to say this to Bizzy. Do you think that was a missed opportunity for Glenn's son?
Oh, shoot. So,
do you think that was a missed opportunity?
That would have been really cool to have her in.
I've seen, the Negan.
Yeah.
So I've seen that show.
Okay. I did have a question related to that though. It was a little off, but I wanted to know how many of you even knew about, because you know how they mentioned that they blew up Omaha. Did you guys catch that for the first time here?
So remember the first 2 episodes. You talked to us about it. You gave us the background, the skinny on the ones, the world, whatever the other show was.
Wait, you watched The World Beyond?
No, you told me about.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that you guys remembered because
you freaked out over it.
Ronin looked surprised.
Yeah. No. You freaked out over it, and I was like, and again, I'm not. But I was like, I imagine it has to do with one of the other spin-offs that there's a slight connection to it. And I was just like, that is cool. If you watch all these shows, and I heard some are really bad, some are really good. If you watch them show, that's a cool payoff for you, and it's a cool detail.
Why I wanted to mention it because I wasn't sure like the purpose behind it. Like, of course, it was really cool how they kind of showed it in this little world where like we have. If you're watching it for the first time and you've never seen The World Beyond, and you hear like, okay, somebody got to it, you're not gonna assume it's them. So of course, like I do like how they didn't have to like spoon feed it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was still one of those things to get excited for.
Yeah. And then the next segue is the conversation that Rick has with the general. Now, this was an interesting conversation. I'm gonna be careful with my words. The conversation that Rick was having with the general was a very scary one, but yet eye-opening one, because essentially the general showed his hand, and he showed his fear, and he showed the reality of the situation. So he showed facts on top of emotion. The facts are that, based on their analysis of it, we got 14 more years left, period. That's it. Unless something changes or happens, like, that's the amount of time that we have. He even said that the scientists still have not figured out how all this is even happening. And it was kind of like, our contingency is to basically weed out every other group so that, like, there's dominant supremacy and there's an actual government to say and dictate what everybody does, which is a dictatorship. So the thing about it that made it more conflicting is the facts on top of what he said at the end is that, look, Rick, you've tried to escape I don't know how many times. If you go along with this, if you my man, you can take your whole family. They have complete covering. We will not bomb them. They can join our community. I don't even care. Just as long, I'll give you whatever you need for you to stay. That is an actual move. That was a chess move, to the point that Rick had to consider it, right? Like, all of us would have considered it, because at the end of the day, we don't know if they do have supercells in Alexandria. We don't know what other groups, like, the thing that really bothered me more so about Rick just doing what he did was more so in the fact that as soon as this man, whether you kill him or whether you decide to go with him, we don't know what he really truly knows. We don't know how much he's already set stuff in motion. The way that the episode plays out is that we get what we get. That's it. That's all he knew. And his power play was to try to get Rick on his side by preserving life and preserving the people that he's trying to get to this whole entire time. But if this was a long-term thing, like if you think about this like season-wide, this is multiple seasons and whatnot, it wouldn't make sense for Rick to do it the way he did. It'd be more sense to play the long game, in my opinion. But I wanted you guys to tell me your perspective on, one, what the general was saying about the civilization as a whole, the actual facts, versus, of course, like what he's proposing is terrible. Like, that's not the way to go, which makes more sense why, the other guy that raised Rick up, he wanted Rick in place so that in the event that people started to rally behind Rick, there's a different route. Like, there's a different way. But now it doesn't even matter. But anyway, before we get there, go ahead. What did you guys take on the conversation with Rick and the general?
I liked it. To me, if the family reunion got me emotional, then the general scene in the desk, that was the best scene out of this episode, and one of the top 3-4 scenes of this series. I liked it because I could see how someone with his background would fall down this way, or even for me, fall down this way. Some would say rise that way. And I get it about the long game. And I wonder, because they already put a timer on it, 14 years.
Yep.
That's the time to, for these shows and movies. I wonder if if that's just a red herring, or they'll keep that in play and be like, all right, Rick, you chose not to do this. Maybe you make it at the end of it, but there should be a cause, or that should be brought up again in a pivotal way. If not, then the shows and the characters, how do I say it? The weight of their decisions fade away easily, and they don't have repercussions and whatnot. I don't want to bring up another franchise, but it's another franchise that has similarities to Walking Dead. That I agree with what most of the main characters from the first story do, and yet I understand the repercussions to that. And I'm as someone who likes dark characters at points and loves going into the gray area. I like to see if that stuff either still has repercussions, and yet I still stick with the choice of the characters. Like I still stick with Michonne and Rick's choices, and I would like to see the fallout, if you will, fallback of that, and yet be like, all right, that still hits home, but now figure another way to overcome this and make it differently. Because if it's definitive, if this is definitive, then it loses the weight of what the antagonistic side of this series was. And I agree with you. It was a full on. For me, you say chess. For me, it was poker. It was like Texas Hold'em and him shoving all the chips away. But how many of us think that maybe he was bluffing just to lure him in because he knew he was that key and how that guy how Rick could do stuff. So part of me thinks he was bluffing, but part of me was like, no, he probably had his chips all in for that. And I love the callback to the talk he had in the helicopter with the dude from the first episode. So I'll be like, when you see the blade, don't hesitate. It's just like woof, woof.
Yeah, Okafor absolutely knew that Rick would never go down that route, and he felt like if Rick got close enough that he could actually make a change. But I don't think that Okafor wanted the CRM to die completely. But we'll get to that. Bizzy, what was your take on the conversation with the General Rick?
Honestly, everything about that. I mean, the music, just the intensity. I felt it was different. And the thing is, we've heard Major Beal's name throughout the universe, but we've never seen him. So for him to be kind of as intimidating as he was, I kind of like that, and it really made moments like at the end where, after he tells him to put all of his weapons on the table, and then we can just see it in his face, his reaction before Rick even, says he's against anything. He just knew it. So it was just really cool to see how that kind of final fight went down and everything. But it was a very, very intense, for sure.
So I asked this question. It's a trigger question because it's a segue to where everything goes. Because the end is the end at the end of the day, whether how you feel about it or not. And I'm not talking about the emotional end. I'm talking about like the battle, so to speak. Do you guys think that he should have killed the Major?
Yeah,
Or
I
should he
think
have played the long game?
honestly, it's just one of those things that if you have the kind of the person in your target, then you got to take it. I truly don't know if things would have worked out if he just waited till they were all, in the premises, but I just don't trust that it would have been that simple. So I think he made the right decision. I think the way he went about it, like cleaning it all up, was a little weird, but it was still interesting.
Ronan, what about you?
I feel the long game at this point, when they transition from movies, trilogy at least, to limited series or series, I feel a lot of us would feel like, oh, they're extending the scripts because it's the movie, it's making money and merch and all this stuff. I feel like if they play the long game, they would have had to have known what would have happened at the very end. And I don't know if they know that definitively right now. So I like that this series ended in a way that if that's it, as an outsider, Walking Dead fan, outsider, not too deep, I'm content. I'm okay with how it ended and whatnot. That tip of that Rick gives to the hat and whatnot, I was like, that's it right there. That's I can go living with that and whatnot. Um, yeah, I feel like if you play the long game, you should know more or less definitely what happens at the very end, and then the minute details you can play around up until that point. But it's also a way of like how many times does a show overstay its welcome,
Yeah.
or extends a story just for the sake of money and ratings and all this stuff. So I liked it, and it's ballsy that they could have closed it in like this. And again, we don't know if we're gonna get more season one. It's very possible. I doubt they're gonna keep it at this, but if they do, I salute them. Being like, all right, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, like the Major was only there technically 2 to 3 episodes, even though it's only 6 episodes, maybe 2 episodes total. And I actually felt like between the Major and Thorn that they had much more story. Not to say that they built them up to do more, but from an expansion standpoint, it would just been more interesting. Like we're always on the side of the protagonist. We never have like a great character often, unlike somebody like Negan. And that's not to say that the Major or Thorn are a Negan, but they are in this gray space. And I felt like it would have been very interesting if Rick would have said, "Yeah, I need you to protect this specific group or XYZ." And, you know, because the thing about it, this whole entire series, like he's still been in the middle. Like he knew for a fact, like, okay, I can't turn my back on my family, can't turn my back on my wife. Like I can't just cut that off emotionally. But there's also been something about having a organization set up in place to protect and to try to build. And it's weird because the way that the episode ends, like they use like the radio waves to say like, okay, now you know the CRM has done XYZ, but all these things they protected, all these different groups that have been a part of it, now we're accepting people to come and go as they please. And it's just weird because the foundations of what this was doing that swayed Rick into believing that something can change, it's kind of like, it's not to say it's for naught, but it's weird. And so that's why I was like torn, because I mean I like how they closed it, given the hope that what the CRM was trying to do, there is another way, but there's not enough definite to make that make sense. So that's why I was kind of torn on whether or not he should have just killed him. I think they'd have been more interesting to have him stay alive. But to your point, Ronin, like if you got a mark, if it's an opportunity, you might have to take it. But realistically, they freaking killed the Major. So how did you think that they were going to get out alive? And so then that's where we're going to the next half of this. So the next half of this is all hands on deck, literally, because they have made their play. Michonne technically killed somebody in Jadis's room. Rick done killed the Major, and Michonne ran out and trying to meet with him. And Rick literally had to go and kill somebody else. And then they had to store the body, and the body is dripping on the elevator floor. And I was just like, this is beyond messy. This is just not carefully planned. And it was drama, and it was exciting, and it was enticing. Like the way they had it, like I really didn't know how this was going to end. And I kept worrying that Thorn is going to find out and she's going to kill Michonne. She's been trying to kill Michonne from Rip. And I'm actually surprised she didn't just kill Michonne out of spite, because when Rick and Michonne went and did what they did, they took the grenades and set things in motion. I was like, oh Lord, this is so Walking Dead. And you know, they set it up perfectly that the gas was going to explode. But I was like, okay, what is this actually going to mean? Like, are they going to really kill all these soldiers? Is that what's going to actually happen? And so when they go and leave out, and Thorne's putting the pieces together, for whatever stupid reason, Rick left his Guy Stern metal arm to leave. I was like, bro, you telegraphing. Why are you telegraphing? So, of course, she picks them up and finds them. I halfway thought what she was going to do, she was going to tell Rick, you have to sit right there and you wait. And she has to be the one to go in there and get it. It made no sense to me for Thorne to tell both of them to go and do that. What made more sense is like the person that you know for a fact you want to shoot in the back, and the person that you want to kill because you know who they are, is have Michonne do it. And it was just, I don't know, it just was so weird because it felt like it was set up so that they blow up the CRM and they kind of have their dramatic way of fighting out of it. And I don't know, it felt really rushed to me, even though I'm torn because it was exciting. Like I was excited because I really didn't know what was going to happen. But at the same time, a part of me was like, we didn't have to get to this point. This could have been a completely different stage battle. I felt like they wanted to write it so that this is the end. And I'm not saying that, unlike another 8th season situation that took place in the dark, that you couldn't really see happen in one episode. I'm not saying it's that, but it it felt like it was written in a way that it had to conclude right like that. And I'm curious if I'm the only one that felt that way, because I was torn, because I'm excited what's happening, and I'm like losing my mind as to what's gonna end up happening. But what would you guys take on it? The way that they kind of went from the point that they killed these people, they're implicated, and now they're setting up these bombs to blow up everybody and blow up CRM, and now they get cornered. So from Thorne's perspective, like, how did you guys think about how she handled it, and then from the way that it all ended up?
So I think it was interesting. I mean, I still don't like that we don't have an explanation on how she didn't die when the explosion went off. Like I am just thinking, like, how the hell did she survive? Like,
Who,
they
Thorne?
showed it. Yeah.
Bro, she got a freaking mask and she survived.
Like
In minutes, bro.
And yeah, we saw what Michonne and Rick had to do, but to see what she had to do, like, it was non-existent. We didn't.
Deleted scene.
It deleted scene, hopefully. But we see them going at it, and I don't know. I think I was kind of tired of the whole, cliche of changing last minute, and where it ended up with her changing everything she was saying, and it's like, oh, you deserve this, yada yada yada. And it was just like, dude, like, I just hate when they keep switching up like that, because they did the same thing with Jadis, and Jadis I don't think would have tried to be all soft in the end.
Call down swinging. Yeah. That felt like something more for a movie nowadays. Most big blockbuster movies, it felt like something that would have happened in, and maybe that's an entailing of what they were going to plan on doing when it was set as a film. But that's to be the last act of the last film of this trilogy, the Michonne and Rick Grimes trilogy. Yeah, I don't. Even that felt weird when she gives them the mask and whatnot, and it's just like, and I get it. I get the theme about, like, love doesn't die and whatnot, but I don't know. I just
You're not
again
here for that. You're just gonna see blood.
I don't. I have no right to tell screenwriters how to write and whatnot. It's just because I've seen that so many times, and how it almost feels like, love is this, love is this, love is that. It feels almost gimmicky now. Maybe that's on us viewers who see it too much, but I would have said, something like, "I don't give up. You did." Boom. Just tells you to be like, what I care for, I wanted to risk my neck to the end of times. Eventually, you tapped out. Maybe everybody has a snapping point. You're snapped ahead of mine.
Yeah.
And it's her, being, going like this and whatnot, and being like, I don't know. It's we go back to the thing of execution and whatnot. That maybe on paper it worked, maybe in concept it worked, but it's another thing to showcase to somebody who's seen these scenarios play out similarly and before, and yeah, I don't know. It still doesn't take away the fun and enjoyment and, like, engagement I had with it, but I was just like, well, that could have been maybe tweaked more and whatnot. But again, this is the outsider Walking Dead fan saying it, not you guys.
No, I mean, I think it's fine. And I pose these questions I'm not trying to, what's the word? I'm not trying to bash the episode or anything like that. I think I'm trying to just add context to it, because I feel like each of these characters are so layered. Like, Thorne is a way more layered character than the decision that she made at the end. Like, I felt like she literally said, I think episode 3 or 4, like, Rick is family for her, right? And so you got this person that's outside, there's a conflict there. Like, there's animosity because of that. She already felt it. And it was kind of just like, all of a sudden, like, she turns killed. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think she'd been more like, why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you allow me to help you do this? Or, something to that nature. But it was more so like, here you go. Or, like, in the very beginning, like, both of you guys go down. Like, that didn't even make any sense. And so before she even got to them, she was emotionally compromised. Like, she seemed like she was emotionally upset. And so, like, a character like her, and then, like I said, the Major, like, he's always not trusted Rick from jump. And so for him to go and divulge this information, and then Rick to kind of like turncoat. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if he would have reacted that way. I understand like self-preservation, but he had to have known at any time Rick would have possibly tried to kill him. I think it would have been more of a OG thing for him to just be like, "You're really gonna kill me after all this? Okay, cool. You don't deserve it, and they're gonna come after your family." And you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I said that some of even the Nice character, like in this one, like her being really panicky, like she's evolved past this. And I know she's emotionally compromised because of what's going on and she's worried about her kids. But these characters, just those three characters, I think that they're way more refined than that. I think it is a situational episode that they wanted to get a certain kind of effect and a resolution. And I think a part of it is that the resolution had to get there a certain way. And that's why I kind of question. I just don't want to feel like I'm crazy because I do think they were written really well. They're so much more layered than this.
You just reminded me of a moment. It doesn't have to have too much connection to this, but there's a moment in a phenomenal movie called Fury. It's a World War II movie directed by David Ayer, starring Brad Pitt. There's a beautiful moment that I love where after this big battle and Brad Pitt's character is very hard boiled and certain this is our way and whatnot, and he's the leader of this path. Where he goes to a corner, nobody's there, and he like falls down on his knee and just like you can see him almost breaking mentally. And then he snaps out of it, lets up a cigarette, and it's almost him telling himself I have to be back in the mode of like hard boiled. I can't break in front of anybody, even though I'm fucked in the head because of this damn war. But there's that beautiful moment where like within a minute or two, you're seeing how this guy really is, and yet what he has to do to stay alive, to lead, and to make sure that his company, his soldiers, stay alive and whatnot. So your description of that and the choices of the characters, it reminded me of that, and I always appreciated that moment and that execution of like somebody has to swallow a hard ass bullet to keep cooler heads prevailing, if you will.
Yeah. But again, I was conflicted because I was also freaking excited. Like if you guys look at our reaction, if you see me and Rona's reaction, I was spazzing out because I was like, God, like Rick, because at the end, like Rick was, compromised. Like he didn't have a mask. He told, Michonne to get the mask, and he's fighting all these different walkers with no protection outside of the suit. And I was like, if the freaking gas doesn't get him, the walkers are gonna get him. And this fool goes and pulls a grenade pin. And if you look at my face, Rona was like, oh my God. And I was like, I swear, if I look at Rick Grimes and half his body's gone, I am gonna be destroyed. Like straight up. And like my reaction was Michonne's reaction because she looked like, and so kudos for them. Again, that's why I'm so torn because to build up like me feeling like anything could happen, I understand certain things had to be written that way, but I think that some of it was at the cost of some of the characters. I think that's where I'm really feeling. Because the characters were written so well. I mean, I felt the same exact way for Aquafor. Like, I felt like, dang, y'all killed that ninja the second episode. And I was like, he's such an interesting character. It would have been cool. But each character that I've seen that I found interest in, I haven't got that much time with. I felt the same exact way about Nate. Can't remember his name. But the little guy, like he was such an interesting character and the actor did such a great job. But I don't know. I think that's the crux of having this be a mini series versus it being a movie or versus them actually making a season out of it. And it's kind of like now, did Thorne die? That's what I was going to ask you guys. Do you think Thorne is actually dead?
They didn't finish her off, so I truly think that if they did do a season 2, we could have her come back. It could be a whole, but they could go either direction with it if she does come back. So it'd be
I'm back, bitch. Yeah.
Because no, she's not. That's the weird thing. If she never left that small little tagline, "Yeah, you deserve this," I was been like, you know what? She's coming back. Like she is not gonna let that go at all. But then she said that little tagline, so you kind of just like, so is she gonna feel like is she gonna feel like what they did, and on top of that, the radio wave kind of alluded that the CRM is basically going to be disbanded. So it's like they killed the CRM in one fell swoop. I don't know. It's again, they have such a great show here and a great story, but the way they close this loop really quickly,
rushed, yeah.
It feels like they compromised the character's progression to close the loop. And that's not to say that the episode's bad, but it just feels like it was just a snap and then things just completely changed really quickly. Because I honestly wanted to see what I think part of that is I started to dare to dream again. I hadn't dared to dream since Reaction Days. And I was like, man, it'd be so interesting if the band had to get together to take down the CRM for real.
And that's where you would usually say, ride the wave.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying if you keep guessing?
I wish I would have emotionally rode the wave because I was just like, because if you go and think back to like 2 episodes ago, there's no way you would have thought this is how we're gonna end this episode. Nobody can tell me. Nobody can promise me that. Like, you're gonna be like, yeah, nah, Rick and Michonne, they blow all them cats. And like nothing's gonna be left because the gas is gonna kill them either way. Like, because we've seen the effects of the gas on smaller exposure. It took a year for Michonne to get her lungs right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's extreme exposure. So I don't know, man. And I don't want to rag on anymore because it was such a beautiful ending. Because I ain't gonna lie, like seeing them get back to their children was one of the most wholesome, beautiful things I've seen out of The Walking Dead. Like it took a lot for me to kind of hold that emotion in because I'm sitting there thinking like, if you don't know this, Ronin, but Bizzy and I know what it took for Judith to come into this world. That was a lot. And for little Junior over there, like him coming into the world was a lot. And so for them to kind of come back, like, I don't know, man, it's so much weight. And I think you could feel it emotionally, Ronin. But me and Bizzy, like, we had to deal with it. We had to just deal with the emotions behind of it.
Can I ask this? Judith coming to the world, is that part? I'm assuming because Laurie died. Is it that famous gift that now people put where Carl
Rick
like
is
this?
Rick and Carl,
and,
yeah.
Oh no! Is that from that moment? Okay.
Don't make a joke out of it. It was sad.
So that moment,
I'm just saying that's what I've seen.
That moment, basically, Carl had to kill his own mom. That's what that moment was.
Yeah.
And the only thing that came out of that was a baby. That ain't even Rick's baby. That's his best friend.
Don't say it like that. That's Rick's child.
You know what I mean?
Maury. You don't know what you're talking about.
So it's kind of like the only thing he has left from his wife and from his best friend is this girl. And Carl had to be the one to kill his own mom. So that was that moment. So it's kind of like, I think back to, when Judith was in the freaking prison and Daryl had to go in, like, what did he call her? What's his nickname for her?
Ass kicker.
Yeah, like she was just a baby, dude. Like,
because when she came out, Rick wasn't around to give her a name. Yeah. So like they were all thinking of names, and of course Daryl straight up said, "How she looks like an ass kicker. We'll call her a little ass kicker."
Yeah, like Rick was emotionally compromised. He was messed up.
That's heartbreaking.
So it's kind of like to see them come together is so beautiful, bro. Like I can't even lie. I mean, and again, even if it was a situation where they didn't destroy the CRM and they kind of still had that moment, it still would have been beautiful either way, I think. But yeah. So that
felt like Endgame when Scott goes back to his house and he sees his like teenager, and we're all like, "Oh shit, it's the little kid we liked in the Ant-Man movie." We're like, "Oh man, this guy missed a lot and whatnot." And seeing Judith all run the cowgirl went out, I was just like, "Oh man, that's yeah."
But it was amazing to see them together. Like I thought it was beautiful.
Thank you, Draven, for spoiling that. If you ever watched this, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I live for those moments in the internet. Fucking
The
great.
music was beautiful. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the music.
Yes.
And of course, the music being played in that final moment was the exact music they used in the final moments of the Walking Dead finale. So for them to use that theme as the main theme of this show makes so much sense, and it was just so
It's like
good. So good.
poetry. It rhymes. You know, it's
Yeah, because
poetry.
even the theme song, the opener is literally that same theme. So to see
Yeah.
it being utilized as well as they did here was great.
Yeah. But yeah. So closing thoughts on the episode, and then rating. And then if you want to give like your overarching of the season as well.
Um, I liked the finale. I dug it. I was engaged. I mean, there was some moments, if you ever see the reaction, where just personal stuff was happening, and so I had to manage this and the personal stuff. Um, but I enjoyed it. It again because it's been a while since I've seen episode 4, and so to see the conclusion in this, it was a sweet way to conclude this story as of now, and I can only imagine what the hardcore Walking Dead fans are going through, specifically Busy, Sam, and our beloved friend Draven. Um, I will give this episode A minus solid. I still think that maybe the episode written by Danai Guriri and the first episode, I think those two might still be my favorite ones. Because that first episode came out swinging. Yeah, if this is all I get for the time being for a few years now, I'm content. I'm happy, and yeah.
Thank you, Ronin. Busy.
I
Final
mean,
thoughts.
as someone who's been waiting for this show for so long, I'm just happy we got it. I like to be as optimistic as I can be, and I think they did a phenomenal job. Sometimes it's a hit or a miss. It can either be really good or it could be a bomb. And this wasn't a bomb, but it was kind of in the middle. And I feel like not many shows are like that anymore because there were some amazing episodes, but it's hard to believe that this is it. I feel like there's so much more story they could tell. And on
Mm.
top of that, yeah, I think I was just so anxiety written throughout the episode, just hoping there was going to be more, like an announcement of season 2 or something, and we didn't get it. So it was tough.
Yeah, I will read something for you guys that came from Scott Gimple. Scott Gimple kind of said it was a wild ride to take the ones who live. It was like a 6 years of a lot of hoping and pivoting and working. And when it was all said and done, I didn't eventuate the way I thought it would, and it didn't eventuate. It eventuated so much better. But one thing he did say is that so when it comes to more of Rashawn's story, it's possible. He says so. Any of you guys that are kind of like on the fence with it, there is hope. There's absolutely story to tell. I just thought that anything associated with the CRM that they kind of built up is kind of like for naught, unfortunately. Like the key players and the key infrastructure of CRM, I was hoping for a little bit more. This is the only reason why I'm going to rate this at a B plus to an A minus. It is an in between. I'm thinking more B plus, but the series as a whole is an A minus for me. Like I thought the series was phenomenal. Like I have not been disinvested in Walking Dead in a very long time. And that's not to say I think Dead City was really good, but I actually love this more. Like I actually was emotionally compromised by this, and I was all absolutely invested. I think the acting was in this was phenomenal. I agree with Ronin that episode 1 and 4 were still the strongest episodes, but every single episode has something that drew me back into the show I used to love and cherish. So yeah, episode I give a B plus, and the overarching season an A minus for me. But yeah, so if we get a season 2, we'll be back. If not, you can see us on other stuff. We're not going anywhere. But Ronan, where can everybody find your content, man?
You can find me at Ronin and Chain. Fuck, I got a lot of stuff to do right now. I got Shogun. I got X-Men 97, The Bad Batch, third and final season. I got Invincible season 2 concluding. So yeah, grow the channel up. I want it over 100K, and tune into these specific 4 shows I'm covering right now, with some of these folks maybe appearing in them reactions and reviews. A lot of shit goes down.
Bizzy, where can everybody find your content?
You can find me at Bizzy Braun everywhere. Bizzy Reactions on Instagram, and of course more reviews of me on this channel, and more reactions on my channel and Ronin's channel. So yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna see me on his channel saying "Let's get busy." I can't believe I
Yeah.
can't believe I said
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we've got a lot of content coming. We're supposed to be finishing up the finale for Solo Leveling. Some other animes that are coming out very soon. Some other shows that we're watching right now on AMC and other stuff. I think Interview of the Vampire season 2. We may be actually covering that as well. So yeah, we got a lot of content coming. Oh, me and Bizzy did a movie reaction together, which is crazy. So I don't know if that's going to be on Patreon, but we will be having it eventually live stream so you guys can kind of interact with us and talk with us on Twitch. So our JVS Twitch, we're going to try to figure out how we schedule that. We may have some giveaways during that time. Who knows? I'm going to just leave it out there. But I appreciate you guys for coming. Next time, we'll try to have a little bit more people on the deck. But you guys stay frosty. And thank you for bringing me back to the world of The Walking Dead. Peace, guys.